everybody, good morning. Day 101 of spiritual healthcare. So welcome into this new phase, this new era of spiritual healthcare. It's crazy. We're into this next set of days. We've got like our own little centuries going. It's kind of cool. So welcome everybody. This is going to be a big class today because I've got some great topics about things like specifically about past lives and our influences, as well as abandoned locations and all sorts of things. So lots to talk about today. Good morning to Dan and Ange and Marge. It's nice to see everybody. Hey guys, nice to see you all. So big topics today. Good morning to Laura, nice to see you, and hello to Richard if he is there as well. Good morning everyone, it is good to see you guys, and as I say, big topics of conversation today, about past lives, directing our current lives, and abandoned locations and hauntings and all sorts of things. So we have so much to talk about. Today, I can see this stretching into tomorrow's class too. So happy Monday to everyone. Happy Monday. It is good to see all of you. I hope you guys had a really good weekend. I had a very good weekend. I spent yesterday kind of back and forth with my partner. We're creating a new new fire video for Snake and Pyre, and I'm excited about it because it's going to be really fun. It's a great swing song, and it's going to be awesome. So it's going to be really good. I did some fire breathing and all sorts of things yesterday. It was really good. It was really fun. Good morning to Matt and Eric. Nice to see you. It's nice to see everybody. Hey. I hope you guys are having really good weather too. We've got beautiful day here today in Edmonton. I hope you guys can get out and enjoy some good weather today too. Good morning to Kaz. Nice to see you. It's good to see everybody. We've got, as I say, big topics of discussion today. Big topics. Good morning to Sally. Nice to see you. This is good. I can see this, as I say, turning into tomorrow's class as well, because I think everybody's going to have a lot to say about this today, as we get into, as I say, abandoned locations, as well as how we interpret or take on past lives and things like that. But I've got a different take on it that I want you guys to sort of mess around with and observe and get your hands dirty in the concept. And so I'm really excited about all of that. I think it's going to be great. I saw some really great news recently. I posted it on EntitySeeker, the fact that the new Unsolved Mysteries, the brand new Unsolved Mysteries, is actually generating tips and solving cases already. People are phoning in. There's been some really great leads that people have been getting. It's really cool. So if you guys are watching the new Unsolved Mysteries, take a look at it. It's really awesome, and I'm excited to see that this is all kind of spiraling into a new era. I think this is going to be really good. So I love it, because I think so many people grew up on Unsolved Mysteries. You know, everybody's got a story. Everybody remembers Robert Stack, and like just waiting for that, having that anticipation of the show coming on every night and stuff like that. So that's really cool. So it's neat to see it redone and rebooted and already doing such good. I think the great thing about shows like Unsolved Mysteries is that it is such a great example, I think, of the platform of entertainment being used for such a higher good and to be of such service to the world, because you air a case like that, or you get people talking about it, and you put the seeds out there, and with the amazing reach that we have with our current technology, we get to sit back and watch pieces come together of cases that, I mean, would never have been solved years and years and years ago. So it's pretty cool. And Marge is saying there's a Paranormal 911 marathon on today. Hooray! That's fantastic. So that'll be Travel Channel, guys. Paranormal 911 marathon. That's awesome. We had some great questions come in over the last little while, and the first one that I wanted to grab before we start talking about like the idea of past lives, and I thought this was a really good question, and that's, are abandoned homes haunted? All of them. Are all of them haunted? Like, if it's a building and it's empty, does it mean that there's some sort of paranormal activity? And I think this is such a good question, because this is such a, I think I see this, we see this in the ghost hunting world all the time, right? Where, people are always looking for abandoned locations or abandoned places to go in and investigate and things like that. Are all these abandoned places, potential for psi or paranormal activity? And the answer is no. There's so many factors that intertwine into paranormal phenomenon going on. The people, of course, have to, being receptive to it or not. And are some of them active with different things? Well, yeah, of course. There are many locations that have been closed down over the years, and some due to the haunting itself, such as Greyfriars Kirkyard in the UK, as well. There's been multiple locations like that over the years where they've actually had to shut places down in order for that. So I think it's really interesting, and the idea that some of these places have activity is pretty cool. But they're not all haunted. Not all abandoned places are. And just because something has got a crazy history to it as well doesn't necessarily mean it's haunted either. We have to remember that a lot of places that are active or currently active are locations where there are people. People that can be around to witness it, but also people that are, or environments where there's activity for some of these entities to interact with. We're dealing with intelligences, and rarely do they want to be hanging around places where there's not anything to interact with. So there's many factors that come into it, but we tend to forget that the trope that Hollywood kind of lays out of ghosts and things like that are is not necessarily accurate. It's not true. And we have this amazing non-physical energy around us that is always looking for that interaction. I was actually talking with somebody on Facebook yesterday about cemeteries and graveyards, because she every year goes to, I believe it was her sister's grave, to go and do EVP and things like that. And I had messaged her and just said, just a hint, you don't have to be at the gravesite. They're not there. We bury the physical body in a place, but the physical body doesn't stay there. It's endless. It's infinite. The consciousness is infinite, and we can communicate with them wherever we are, wherever we want. We're not limited to a graveyard, and they definitely are not limited to a graveyard either. They just aren't. We don't have that limitation on us. So I wanted to grab that before we get into the other question today, which I thought was so good. And I wanted to tackle this because I think it's important, and I think as we kind of go along with doing this work, doing the emotional work, getting on board with ourselves and what we're doing going forward, I think this is really important. I was watching a show actually recently where people were talking about, it was an old episode of Oprah, and she was talking with people about things like past lives, and interviewing it was either psychologist or psychiatrist or something like that, who was had his hands into this subject on a really, really broad scale. And so the question that came up via email not long after that, because everything kind of melds together, is what do you think about our past life actually having influence on our present life? And if it does, then how does that, how does that manifest itself? And I thought this was great because, I find that a lot of people often tend to get very hung up on past lives. I think there's something absolutely there. Some of the strongest research that has ever been done about whether or not there is survival after death is based on past life studies. People like Dr. Ian Stevenson, all of these individuals who have studied the idea of past lives over the years have ultimately come to the conclusion that this is probably one of the best areas of study that we can actually observe in the living, where there has been actual evidence about it. It's really interesting. But so here's the thing, though. The other thing that I have noticed about this subject, because we've talked about past lives on other spiritual healthcare classes before in terms of studies and that kind of thing. But what I've noticed is that a lot of the time people end up getting hung up on the idea that the past life is having and carrying that much weight into their present life, and they become so addicted to understanding the past life or understanding a past incident in their life, in their current life or whatnot, that I think we have to be very careful that to examine the reason as to why we want to understand what it is either these past lives, these past occurrences, or these past events in our present life are actually doing for us. Because what I've noticed is that oftentimes you'll get people that are so hung up that the past life ends up being an explanation to fill a hole in the present. And we have to know that when we hang on to our history, we are sacrificing our future. So the one thing that I wanted to bring to the table this morning, because I think this is something to talk about and begin to start to look at and understand, is what are we getting from looking and examining those past life experiences, because they can be extremely valuable. They can be extremely, as I say, interesting and bringing new information to the table about, psi and paranormal research and incidents in your current experience and all of those things. But we have to be really, really careful that we remember that we are always on the leading edge of thought. We are always on the leading edge looking forward, not on the leading edge looking backwards. And as soon as we turn around, we have to think about it like, if you guys think about it like being in a car, right? You're driving along the road and whatnot, and you're seeing the destination in front of you, or you can at least see the road in front of you. And, you can see the obstacles coming. You can see cars moving into your lane. You can see trees. You can see where the edge of the road is. You can see all of these things. The problem is, as soon as we turn around and we turn behind us to look into that back seat, we have to remember that we actually lose all view of what's in front of us. So we have to be very conscious of taking the time to look behind us and do that shoulder check at the right time and at the right moments, and not for too long. Because when we get stuck in it, we get stuck turned around like this, and we lose all the vision in front of us, right? We lose that road in front of us, and we can't see. We can't see what's coming down the pipe. And not only can we not see the obstacles, but we end up losing the vision of the destiny that's down the road that's further if we get stuck doing that shoulder check. So I want to, as I say, throw this out to everybody this morning, because I was thinking about this recently, and being able to not get hung up, I guess, in the looking back in order to examine what has happened. Because the universe is very motion forward. To use another car analogy, the universe is very much like GPS, right? It knows where you are, and it knows where you are compared to where you want to go. And where you've been, it really doesn't care. It knows the shortest way and the path of least resistance to get you from where you are to where you want to go. And where you've been ultimately doesn't matter to the universe. It's just, it's always ever expanding. It's always motion forward, motion forward, motion forward. So I think the idea that, as I say, past lives can be a fascinating place to get information. It can be a fascinating place to actually turn around and take a look at, supporting evidence of survival after death and things like that. But when we are beginning to lose ourselves in the turning around and the looking backwards and the continuing of re-examining, whether it be a past life or past incident in our experience, then we end up getting caught, and the control, we end up going from controlling and taking a look into our history in a conscious way, and it ends up being turned into the incident or that past life or things like that being in control of you, as you look for explanations as to why you're attracting the things that you're attracting in your current position. And we have to remember that we are always attracting what we are attracting from our current now, not from past incidents, not from past events, and not from past lives. So when we rehearse this stuff, when we go back, when we are, looking backwards into our experiences over the years, we have to remember that when we rehearse stuff, we end up enshrining that stuff. Whatever we're putting our attention to, whether it's a past experience or whether it's something that is in the moment or anything like that, then we end up putting energy into it, which causes us to create more momentum around that energy. And the universe is so reliable. It's so reliable in bringing us what it is that we want, that as soon as we become that energy, as soon as we feel it, as soon as we have that emotional attachment to it, then what happens is that we end up bringing more to us of that, whatever that energy is. And it's funny because, we often think that, if we lose something, if we are missing something, that we can't ever get it back. But let me tell you, the universe has an incredible way of bringing back to you whatever it is that you think you've lost, right? If something gets removed from your experience, it will come back in a different way. It might not look the same. It might not look at all the same. You might not get it in the way that you think you're going to get it, but what ends up happening is that you will get the equivalency of the energy of whatever that is. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on where you're putting your focus. So if you've got a situation where, you're looking back into things like past lives and looking back into things like that are, that are upsetting or that they're negative or something like that, then we've got a big problem, because we're bringing that energy now into the present moment, which is going to create more of what that present moment is. And Laura is saying, if we don't strive to change our present circumstances, we're destined to repeat them here and now and in the next. Yeah, it's really about cleaning that stuff up. But at the same time, we have to remember that sometimes that cleaning stuff up can actually suck us back. If we are not creating a balance between looking back and being able to examine in more of a clinical fashion, and realizing that we have to be in the present and the here and the now and balance that healing out. If we don't do that, then we end up stuck, as I say, in the car doing this, and we miss that road in front of us, right? So we've got all of this expanse of the stuff that's going on, and we end up missing it. Marge is saying, I was on the 8th grade trip to Montreal in 1973. I was on a bus in Canada when I found myself looking at the window at a farmhouse, and she could see everything inside the place, including the barn, and I'll never forget it. Yeah, it's so interesting, because, when we look forward, when we look ahead, when we look further down that road, we have that long vision. The stuff that was going on prior, the stuff that was going on previously, becomes so much less important, and it becomes less significant the longer that vision is. It's really interesting. I remember this was quite a while ago, but my partner, we were setting up, we were working with EntitySeeker at the time before COVID-19 hit, sort of getting it set up in these other cities and whatnot. And it was funny because he said, if you end up having that long vision, and then you've got a couple of things within that long vision that you're kind of focused on, if one of those things on the path ends up falling through, it doesn't matter so much. You don't care so much about that one thing, because you see the end goal, you see the long vision. It doesn't matter. And I thought that was really, really brilliant, and it's absolutely true. If I don't think people realize often what they lose when they lose that vision. We don't realize what we lose when we lose the vision of the destiny that we're creating, whatever that is, whatever it is that you're putting into motion. When we lose the vision, we don't realize really what it is that we're losing. So we've got to be very careful. As I say, past lives can be so incredible, because you can look back and we see these incidents of reincarnation that have been studied over the years, that are some of the most brilliant examples of life after death and survival after death, and examining consciousness. But we have to remember that we are creating from this moment forward. And if we don't, we can't afford to make things mountains, because when a mountain does show up, when we make these things mountains, when we make all of this past stuff a mountain, a mountain will show up in our present experience, and we won't have the strength to climb it, because we are too busy dealing with a past mountain. So we have to be able to turn around and be able to view this stuff within perspective and be able to say, okay, this is going on, this happened, this is an interesting incident, but if we don't make those the things that or the size that they should be, that mountain will show up in our present, and we just won't have the strength to climb up that mountain because we're too busy stuck behind us. So as I say, I think there's lots to talk about around this subject, and one of the things that I think we're going to talk about a little bit more tomorrow is, at that point, is how then do you fix it? How do you fix it? How do you bridge the gap between where that is, where you are, and what it is that you're doing and you're putting out there going forward, and how to let it be as it is. And a huge part of that is giving. It really, it's giving. We have to realize that the past lives are sometimes explanations, as I was saying at the beginning, to fill a hole that we're looking for in our present experience. And this is what tomorrow is going to be about, is that the holes, they take up different shapes. Sometimes it's a parent. Sometimes it's a life experience we didn't get as a kid. Sometimes it's, whatever that is. Or sometimes it's something that's going on in our experience now that we need, that we're now taking incidents and things like that from our past experience or past life, and trying to figure out why it is we're afraid of these things. I was afraid of water, so I must have drowned in a past life, or, I miss a parent, so I must have lost and had a terrible experience in a past life. All of these different things. And we have to realize that sometimes these explanations that we give about past lives are actually just filling a current hole that we have in our spirit, in ourselves. And as I say, we're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow, because those holes take different shapes. And I think it's something that we can really start to understand and draw from when we know what some of those experiences actually are. I have found a great passage from Messa Jan Van Zandt in Faith in the Valley that I think is so relevant for what we're talking about today. And what would we do realize? Like, sometimes when we get into examining, I think, some of these things that seem like tragedy, or oftentimes, you'll hear of people going to psychics and things like that, and their past life is a train wreck. And, all of those things, all of the positive things, all of the good things end up getting lost because people like the dramatic story. So I wanted to take a little bit and read just this segment from Faith in the Valley, because I think it is so prevalent. So check this out. The best way to create abundance in your life is to surround yourself with abundance. What you see, you become. If you want to be wealthy, go to the places wealthy people go. Do the things that wealthy people do. If your first thought is, I can't afford to do that, you will know why you do not have wealth and abundance. It's because you don't think abundantly. Abundant thoughts attract abundant experiences. A wealthy consciousness attracts wealth. If you don't know what wealthy people do, study. Read what the wealthy people read, eat what they eat, walk through the wealthy environments, save some money, invest some money, and please, don't make the mistake of thinking that wealth has anything to do with race. Abundance is an attitude. Wealth is a consciousness. You can create an abundantly wealthy lifestyle now, where you are, and with what you have, by bringing yourself into alignment with wealth. The best part of learning to be wealthy and living abundantly when you are not is that you will know exactly what to do when the wealth shows up. And that's not just wealth in terms of money. People think wealth is all cash. It has nothing to do with that. Money is a part of it. Money is a tool. But wealth is so much greater than that. And I think we forget, as I say, that we've got these avenues that we can look at that don't necessarily have to do with the idea that we have to, draw and understand the past life in order to turn around and get involved and sink our teeth into our current experience. Because so often when we're looking back, we're trying to figure out why these holes are there. And sometimes the holes will start for one reason and continue for another reason. And that's something that we have to pay attention to as well. And we're going to talk about that on tomorrow's spiritual healthcare, because trying to understand what those are is really, really key to understanding why we tend to get so invested into things like past lives, and trying to fill those gaps up. So we're going to talk about that all tomorrow, because as I say, there's so much to do with this. But for today, you guys, I want you guys to take a deep breath. We're going to do some affirmations. And tomorrow's class, I want you guys to think about tonight. And as you're moving through your day today, get your journals and all of that kind of thing. And start to think about what those holes are for you in your experience. Are they, is it something where is it a parent? Was it an opportunity missed, experiences you didn't have? What does it look like for you? And I'll be super interested to hear what you guys come up with for tomorrow. So, everybody take a breath. I am a channel of peace and well-being, and my need for peace is abundantly met. I unconditionally accept, love, and appreciate myself and who I am. I am grateful for the abundance that is constantly flowing into my experience, which I can choose to allow or not. I feel with every breath a sense of peace and love. I help others by maintaining and tending to my connection with Source as much as possible. This well-being is accessible to me even in a sea of uncertainty, and at this moment, all is well. I am able to liberate myself from my past and live with peace and serenity. I can see and appreciate all the beauty and abundance of the life around me. I am able to embrace love while letting go of fear, and I find peace with the soothing silence of my inner being. And everybody take a breath. So tomorrow we're gonna keep this going, because there's so much in regards to this subject, and I couldn't leave it alone after I was watching that show, and then I had to bring it up because there was so much that I noticed around this subject. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. If anybody who is new, you guys can go to entityseeker.ca or youtube.com/entityseeker in order to catch up on any past spiritual healthcare classes, as well as some of my fire lessons, teaching spirituality with fire. It's just always so much fun. And yeah, so I'm so looking forward to tomorrow. You guys have an amazing Monday. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with for tomorrow. If you feel like it, post it in the comments during tomorrow's class, and we'll go through it. We'll start to take this stuff apart. And I will see you all tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Bye, everybody.